And now, people of Gotham City, the moment you have all been waiting for.
Cesar Romero is remembered by many people as the smiling villain with white face paint and bright green hair who played the Joker on television. Long before darker versions of the character appeared in later years, Romero brought a playful and theatrical energy to the role on the 1960s Batman series. What many fans still talk about is the famous mustache. When he agreed to play the Joker, he refused to shave it. Instead of removing it, the makeup team simply covered it with thick white paint. If viewers look closely at old episodes, they can still see the shape of the mustache underneath. That small detail became part of television history. But the mustache was more than just stubborn pride. It represented something deeper about Romero. It symbolized the identity he had built over decades in Hollywood. By the time he played the Joker, he had already lived through great wealth, painful loss, war, fame, and personal secrets. His life was not simple, and it did not follow a straight path. To understand why that mustache mattered so much, we have to go back to the very beginning of his story, long before the bright lights of television and long before the laughter of comic book villains. Cesar Julio Romero Jr. was born on February 15, 1907, in New York City. His family background was proud and impressive. His parents were Cuban immigrants who came to the United States with ambition and strong cultural roots. His father was a successful businessman involved in importing and exporting goods, especially sugar from Cuba. The family lived comfortably and moved in respected social circles. They valued education, culture, and discipline. His mother was a trained singer and pianist who performed in respected venues around New York. Because of this, young Cesar grew up in a home filled with music, art, and conversation. He learned early how to carry himself with confidence and charm. He attended private schools where he was expected to follow a serious career path, possibly in banking or business like his father. His future seemed carefully planned. However, history had other ideas. In 1929, when Cesar was in his early 20s, the stock market crashed. The Great Depression followed, and his family's sugar business collapsed. The wealth that once supported them disappeared almost overnight. For Cesar, this moment changed everything. He felt a strong responsibility to help his family survive. He worked at a bank for a time, even though the job did not excite him. Still, there was another side of him that had been growing quietly since his teenage years. He loved dancing. He had natural rhythm and confidence on the dance floor, and he often attended high society events where he impressed people with his style. Eventually, he chose to follow that passion instead of staying in banking. It was a risky decision, especially during difficult economic times, but it was also the beginning of his journey into show business. He partnered with a wealthy dancer and began performing in clubs and on Broadway. Those early performances taught him how to hold an audience's attention without speaking a word. He developed the polished charm that would later define his screen presence. Hollywood soon noticed him. By the mid-1930s, he had moved west and started appearing in films. Studios quickly saw him as tall, handsome, and elegant. He was often cast as the romantic foreigner or the charming rival. While these roles brought him steady work, they also placed limits on him. He was capable of more serious and complex characters, but Hollywood often preferred to use him for his looks and smooth style. Still, he made the most of every opportunity. He negotiated better contracts and eventually moved from one studio to another when he was not given the respect he felt he deserved. His career continued to grow through musicals, westerns, and comedies. Then, during World War II, he shocked many people by leaving Hollywood at the height of his success to join the United States Coast Guard. He did not ask for special treatment. He trained like any other recruit and served on a ship during dangerous Pacific operations. This decision revealed another side of him, a man of duty and courage, not just glamour. After the war, he returned to acting and continued working for decades. He never married and remained one of Hollywood's most famous bachelors, often escorting leading ladies to events, but keeping his private life carefully guarded. Throughout it all, he held on to his polished image, his family loyalty, and yes, even his mustache. That small strip of hair under white paint symbolized a man who had lived many lives and refused to erase who he was for anyone. As Cesar Romero's career continued to grow in the 1930s, he slowly became one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. He had a tall frame, dark hair, and a confident smile that made him stand out on screen. Studios quickly realized that audiences enjoyed watching him, especially in roles where he played charming men with mystery in their eyes. One of his early breakthrough roles came in the successful film The Thin Man in 1934. Even though he was not the main star, his performance caught attention. The movie was a hit during the difficult years of the Great Depression, and that success helped Romero gain more visibility. Soon after, he appeared in several films each year. He worked with major studios like MGM and 20th Century Fox, building a reputation as a reliable actor who showed up on time and delivered exactly what directors wanted. However, there was a quiet struggle behind his rising fame. Hollywood often placed actors into narrow categories, and Romero was no exception. Because of his Cuban heritage and striking features, he was frequently cast as the Latin lover, the exotic outsider, or the romantic rival who would eventually lose the leading lady to the American hero. These roles paid well, but they also limited his growth as a serious actor. Romero understood this, yet he also knew that steady work was important, especially after watching his family lose everything during the financial crash. So he played the roles offered to him, but he did it with skill and intelligence. He learned how to add small details to his characters that made them memorable, even if the script did not give him much depth. In time, he gained enough influence to negotiate better contracts. When one studio refused to give him a raise, he moved to another that offered him a much higher salary. This showed that he was not just a handsome face, but also a smart businessman who understood his value. During the late 1930s and early 1940s, he appeared in colorful musicals and Western films that were popular with audiences looking for escape from real-world troubles. He acted alongside famous stars and even became a frequent co-star with singer Carmen Miranda, whose lively performances matched his smooth dancing style. In Western films, he sometimes played heroic characters, which allowed him to show strength and action skills instead of only romance. One of his most notable roles during this time was playing Doc Holliday in a Western film about Wyatt Earp. This part allowed him to portray a more serious and complex character, proving he could handle dramatic material. By the early 1940s, he was at the height of his fame. He was earning a large salary, living comfortably in California, and moving in glamorous social circles. Yet something unexpected happened. In 1942, at age 35, Romero made a decision that surprised both Hollywood and his fans. Instead of continuing his successful film career during World War II, he chose to enlist in the United States Coast Guard. He did not use his fame to gain a safe or easy position. He joined at the lowest rank and trained like every other recruit. Many people assumed it was a publicity move, but those who served with him later confirmed that he took his duties seriously and never asked for special privileges. He served aboard the USS Cavalier, an attack transport ship involved in dangerous Pacific operations. His job included operating heavy equipment during amphibious landings, work that required focus and bravery. The risk was real, and the conditions were harsh. During invasions such as the Battle of Saipan and operations near Tinian, his ship faced enemy fire. Romero worked under those conditions without complaint. When there were quiet moments, he sometimes entertained fellow sailors to lift morale, but he never acted like a celebrity seeking attention. This chapter of his life revealed strength and discipline that many fans had never seen. It also showed that beneath the polished Hollywood image was a man who believed in responsibility and service. When the war ended and he returned home, he did not immediately jump back into fame. Instead, he slowly rebuilt his acting career, bringing with him a deeper sense of experience and maturity that would shape the next stage of his life in television and film. When World War II ended and Cesar Romero returned home, Hollywood was changing. The film industry was no longer the same as it had been in the 1930s. New actors were rising, new styles of storytelling were becoming popular, and audiences were looking for different kinds of heroes. For Romero, this meant he had to adjust once again. He had already reinvented himself once when he left banking for dancing, and again when he moved from Broadway to Hollywood. Now, he faced another turning point. Instead of fading away, he chose to adapt. During the late 1940s and 1950s, he continued acting in films, but he also began working more in television, which was becoming a powerful new form of entertainment. Many older film actors were unsure about television, believing it was a step down from the big screen. Romero, however, saw opportunity rather than fear. He appeared in a wide range of television shows, playing everything from romantic leads to mysterious villains. His experience and polished speaking style made him perfect for guest roles in popular series. He brought a sense of class and professionalism to every appearance. While he may not have been the biggest box office star of the era, he became something just as valuable, dependable, and respected. Directors knew he would arrive prepared and perform exactly as needed. This steady work kept him active for decades. Yet the role that would make him unforgettable to a new generation of viewers arrived in the 1960s with the television series Batman. When he was cast as the Joker, some people were surprised. The character was wild, unpredictable, and exaggerated. But Romero understood something important about entertainment. He knew that bold characters leave lasting impressions. He approached the role with energy and humor, creating a version of the Joker that was colorful rather than frightening. His performance included dramatic laughter, theatrical gestures, and a sense of playful chaos. And of course, there was the famous mustache under the white makeup. Producers asked him to shave it, but he refused. To him, the mustache was part of his identity. Instead of arguing endlessly, the makeup team simply painted over it. That small act of stubbornness became one of the most talked about details of the show. Viewers noticed it, and many appreciated that he stayed true to himself. His Joker was not dark or violent like later versions would become. Instead, it fit perfectly with the bright, comic book style of the 1960s series. Children loved him, and adults found him entertaining. Even though he had already been in Hollywood for decades, this role introduced him to an entirely new audience. It proved that reinvention was possible at any age. Off-screen, Romero remained private about his personal life. He never married and had no children, which led to rumors and speculation. In an era when Hollywood carefully managed public images, he kept his private relationships out of the spotlight. He was often seen attending events with glamorous actresses, but those appearances rarely turned into serious public romances. Many people who worked with him described him as kind, polite, and generous. He stayed close to his family for much of his life and helped support them financially when needed. Even as he grew older, he maintained his elegant style and charm. In interviews, he often spoke warmly about his experiences, including his time in the Coast Guard. He did not brag about his service, but treated it as a normal part of his life. As the years passed, he continued appearing in television shows and films, enjoying a career that lasted more than 6 decades. Few actors managed to remain active for so long. His secret was simple. He adapted, worked hard, and protected the image he had carefully built since his youth. As Cesar Romero entered the later years of his life, he had already achieved something rare in Hollywood: longevity. Many actors shine brightly for a short time and then slowly disappear from the spotlight. Romero's story was different. His career lasted for more than 60 years, stretching from the golden age of black and white cinema to the colorful era of television and modern film. That kind of endurance does not happen by accident. It happens because of discipline, adaptability, and a strong understanding of one's own strengths. Romero understood who he was as a performer. He knew he had charm, confidence, and an elegant presence that audiences enjoyed watching. Instead of fighting against that image, he refined it and made it stronger over time. Even when trends changed and new actors became popular, he remained steady. Directors trusted him. Producers valued him. Fellow actors respected him. He did not chase fame in desperate ways. He simply continued working one project at a time. During the 1970s and 1980s, he made guest appearances in many television series, often playing wealthy businessmen, dignified officials, or sometimes dramatic villains. These roles suited him well because they matched the polished image he had carried since his youth. His voice remained smooth and confident, and his posture still reflected the training of a man who once danced across ballroom floors. What stands out most about Romero's later life is how consistent he remained in his public behavior. He did not involve himself in scandals. He did not speak badly about others in interviews. He carried himself with the same calm dignity whether he was on a red carpet or simply talking to reporters. That steady image protected him in an industry known for sudden rises and painful falls. Behind the scenes, however, there were personal realities that he rarely discussed openly. Hollywood during his early career was not welcoming to actors who did not fit traditional expectations. For much of the 20th century, studios carefully controlled public images. Romance stories were often created for publicity, and personal truths were sometimes hidden to protect careers. Romero understood this system very well. He lived through decades when public opinion could quickly destroy a reputation. Instead of fighting the system directly, he chose privacy. He never married, and although he was frequently photographed with famous actresses, he kept his deeper personal life out of public view. Some people later suggested that this quiet privacy allowed him to survive in an era that might not have accepted him fully. Whether those rumors were true or not, one thing is clear: he maintained control over his story. In 1994, at the age of 86, Cesar Romero passed away in Santa Monica, California. By that time, he had appeared in more than 100 films and countless television episodes. His contribution to entertainment stretched across generations. For older audiences, he remained the charming leading man of classic films. For younger viewers, he would always be the colorful Joker with the painted-over mustache. That mustache, once a small point of stubborn pride, became a symbol of something much larger. It represented a man who refused to erase his identity to fit someone else's idea of perfection. In a world where actors often change themselves completely for roles, Romero kept one small piece of himself untouched. His life story is not just about fame or film credits. It is about resilience. He survived financial collapse, war, changing industries, and strict Hollywood rules. He adapted without losing his core sense of self. That balance between flexibility and personal pride is perhaps his greatest lesson. Today, when people look back at his performances, they see more than a smiling villain or a polished gentleman. They see a man who lived through nearly an entire century of change and continued standing tall. His legacy is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, lasting, and quietly powerful. When people look back at Cesar Romero's life, they often focus on the most colorful parts: the bright costumes, the dramatic laughter, and the playful villainy of his Joker performance. Yet his real legacy goes far beyond a single television role. Romero's life tells the story of a man who learned how to survive change without losing himself. He was born into comfort, lost it during the Great Depression, rebuilt his life through talent and charm, stepped away from fame to serve in wartime, and then returned to reinvent himself once again. That pattern of falling and rising shaped his character. It taught him discipline and patience. It also gave him a deep understanding of how quickly fortune can disappear. This awareness likely influenced the way he handled money and relationships later in life. Unlike some stars who lived wildly and spent recklessly, Romero appeared careful and measured. He supported his family for many years, especially after the financial collapse that hurt them so deeply. Responsibility was not just a word to him, it was something he practiced daily. In Hollywood, image was everything. Actors were often told how to dress, who to date, and what to say in interviews. Romero played the game wisely. He attended social events, smiled for cameras, and escorted famous women to premieres, but he rarely allowed reporters to look too closely into his private world. That careful balance helped him avoid the scandals that damaged many other careers. It also allowed him to remain active for decades without major controversy. As time passed, his earlier films became part of classic cinema history. Younger audiences discovered him through television reruns, especially through the bright and humorous